Welcome back everybody, my name is Sucker, and today's video is a continuation of my NBA season preview series for the upcoming 2019-20 NBA season, and this one covers the LA Lakers. Last season, the Lakers went 37-45 and missed the playoffs for the 6th consecutive season, even though up until around Christmas they looked like a postseason team, but then LeBron got hurt and they just never really recovered from that point. And it was surprising to see a LeBron-led team miss the postseason because many people, myself included, picked that team to at the very least make the postseason in LeBron's first season there. But things are obviously much different now for this team as they have made another big addition for the second offseason in a row. And so let's just go ahead and get into their offseason. Let's get to their biggest addition, and it's Anthony Davis. And there's no question at all that in terms of offensively, Anthony Davis and LeBron James are going to be an awesome combination. And Anthony Davis specifically is going to be great in LA. Those two are going to be great in pick and rolls. He's going to be able to score in the post, inside, outside, all of those things. And either one of them should be able to carry the Lakers offense even when they're on the floor by themselves, and when they're on the floor together should be an absolutely devastating combination. I have no doubt about that in my mind. Now, the big difference for this team in terms of being either a slightly better version of what they were last year or much better than what they were last year and a potential title contender is improvement on the defensive end. So if Anthony Davis's recent comments about him wanting to be a potential defensive player of the year candidate, being first team All-NBA in terms of the defensive team, if that stuff is true and he's not just saying that and he can reach those heights as a defender, that makes a huge difference for this LA team and raises their ceiling significantly. Now, obviously, he's not going to be able to do everything by himself defensively, and they do have some issues on the perimeter. But if that is something that he is committed to, that honestly will be the biggest difference between that Lakers team last year and this upcoming season. But it depends again on if Davis is being serious or if it's just lip service. Moving on now to another addition, and it's the first of a couple of players that the Lakers sign on cheap deals that they're hoping can be good two-way contributors for them. And this one is Avery Bradley, who's really struggled with injuries over the last couple of seasons and was absolutely brutal offensively last season. But hopefully, at least this is what the Lakers are hoping, he will be healthy this upcoming season and can actually be a good defender, an occasional floor spacer, someone that can create a little bit of offense for them. And that is, again, the hope for them. And maybe you can talk yourself into it and talk yourself into this being a good addition for them. But it's difficult to get excited about that possibility until we actually see it on the floor and we actually see him play well in an NBA game for an extended period of time. So I'm not getting too excited about the Avery Bradley addition, but in theory, it could work for them if he improves and if he's healthy. Next up is another addition, and again, kind of in this category of cheap guys that they were hoping can be good two-way contributors, and it's Dudley. And as a Nets fan, when Dudley came to Brooklyn, I was like, okay, he's a good veteran presence, whatever, he's really not going to play. And he actually kind of played a significant role for the Nets at certain times and in certain games. He provides a toughness, a little bit of shooting, an okay defender, some size and some strength. And I wouldn't rely on him in crunch time or anything if I was a Lakers fan, or I would hope that they wouldn't be relying on him in crunch time, but he's probably going to get a good amount of minutes off the bench for this team when you look at the rotation and you look at their depth chart. And so it actually kind of makes sense that they brought him in. It should be a good addition. Again, he's going to be a good veteran locker room presence kind of guy. He's going to bring energy. He's going to push guys in practice and things like that. So I actually really like this addition, even though, again, when Dudley initially came to Brooklyn as a Nets fan, I thought he was just kind of an afterthought, but he was actually pretty good for us last year. Moving on now to another addition, and this one is in the backcourt, and it is Quinn Cook. And he's actually one of their more interesting additions simply because he does actually have some scoring upside, and his shooting ability, specifically on a team that, again, once you get to the depth chart, you will see shooting could be an issue for this team and likely will be an issue. The fact that he is such a good shooter should at least provide him some minutes at times for this team. The concerns are obviously defensively, but also is the success that he experienced in Golden State at times a result of that situation and those circumstances and then being so talented and him playing off of that, or actual improvement and Quinn Cook being a legitimate NBA rotation player, and that remains to be seen this upcoming season. But again, that scoring upside, that shooting does at least make him an intriguing addition, and in my opinion, a good one. Next up now is Danny Green, and this was a huge addition for the Lakers. The fact that they would bring him in, because at the time that he signed, they didn't really have that many NBA starting caliber players, and he added to that list at a time that, again, they really needed it. Now, I am a little bit concerned that maybe this will be the season that he will show some regression, but his resurgent season last year in Toronto on a title contending team, obviously a team that ended up winning the title, gives me more hope that he is going to continue to be a very good player for this team, a great 3-and-D player for this team, and again, someone that they really needed badly, and it showed in how aggressively they went after him in free agency once the Kawhi Leonard thing did not happen. So Danny Green, a huge addition. Cannot overstate how big of a deal it is that they brought him in this offseason. And then last up in terms of additions is Troy Daniels, who is a really good shooter, but not much else. He doesn't really provide them anything else, obviously not a great defender. And so at this point, it seems like even though that shooting is going to be incredibly valuable, he's really just going to be a shooting specialist for them. Unless something unforeseen happens and he's actually really valuable for them in other ways, that's pretty much going to be his role, but still a worthwhile addition again for a team that is going to need shooting. Moving on now to subtractions, and the first three are obvious. It's Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and Lonzo Ball, the three players that they traded away in the Anthony Davis trade, and it's hugely significant for obvious reasons. Like, they don't have that depth, they don't have that youth, but even then, Lonzo was kind of the only guy that really fit in all that well once LeBron came to town, and even then his offense really wasn't that good. It was just his defense that kind of helped him be a really valuable member of that team, and it would be really nice to have that kind of cushion, that safety blanket of having those younger players in case LeBron doesn't age as well as we're thinking that he will over the next couple of seasons. But obviously the Lakers made the decision that they would rather have Anthony Davis than those three young players in their picks, and they gave up their entire future for that. And it kind of remains to be seen if that was the right decision. Next up in terms of losses is Lance Stephenson, who actually surprisingly did have some good moments at times with the Lakers last year as a playmaker off the bench, things like that. But this offseason has shown that he's just not really an NBA caliber player anymore, as he's going to be playing outside of the league this season. At least that's the way it appears. And again, they probably could have used him on this team as a playmaker because their bench is so depleted. But at the end of the day, it is probably a good thing that they moved on from him and went after some other players in free agency rather than run it back with Lance once again. And then the last two are Mo Wagner and Isaac Bonga, who they traded away the Wizards just to try and create cap space when they were still trying to figure out the whole cap situation with AD and trying to bring in Kawhi, all that stuff. Neither of them were probably going to be a huge deal this coming season. I mean, Wagner probably would have fit into the front court rotation at times, but again, either of them really weren't going to be that big of a deal for this team for their rotation this upcoming season anyway, so I don't feel the need to spend a ton of time on them. And now we get to the depth chart, and this is what I have so far, and it's kind of crazy, and it's really a cause for concern is the way that I'll phrase it. So we've got Rondo, Danny Green, LeBron James, Kyle Kuzma, and Anthony Davis. Off the bench, Quinn Cook, Avery Bradley, KCP, Dudley, and then McGee and Dwight Howard at the 5. And I know what you're thinking. Anthony Davis doesn't want to play the 5. He keeps saying it. Everybody knows he doesn't want to play the 5. It doesn't matter. Like, this is the best lineup that this team can put on the floor. So whether it's starting, whether it's ending games, whatever it is, this should be their quote-unquote starting unit. Because Anthony Davis, newsflash, you're going to have to get over it, dude. You're going to have to play the 5. That was an option when DeMarcus Cousins was healthy, but it's not an option anymore. Like, I guess you can start games, right? You can start Anthony Davis at the 4, and you can start JaVale McGee at the 5, and maybe bring Kyle Kuzma or somebody else off the bench out of this group of 5. But that's not going to be the best unit to start the game with, and the Lakers are continually going to be most effective on both ends of the floor when they have Anthony Davis at the 5 spot. So it's cute, it's nice that he's like, I don't really want to play the 5. You don't get a choice, dude. Like, this is the best thing for your team, and so if you're committed to that, like you keep saying in the press that he wants to be this great defensive player, he wants to help this team win. Okay, well then play the 5 spot, please. Like, I don't want to hear anything about, AD doesn't want to play it. That's where he should be. That's their best lineup, and then you can see who they have coming off the bench. Now that I've finished my rant, this rotation is not very good at all. Like, it's definitely a huge cause for concern when you look at the other players that they have coming off the bench. Like, Quinn Cook is their backup 1, Avery Bradley, I talked about the issues with him, is their backup 2, then you've got KCP, who could obviously play the 2 or the 3, Jared Dudley is their backup 4, and then you've got JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard at the 5. And I'm really not counting Howard really in the 5-man rotation at the moment, simply because we just haven't seen very much of him over the last 2 years, and what we have seen hasn't been very good, which again is another reason why you can't start AD and McGee very often together, because then you don't really have anybody to play the backup 5 unless it's Howard, and I'm not going to count on him. And again, kind of getting back on my rant, but you guys get the point. In the backcourt, things are not very good at all. The only guy that I feel really confident about being a positive contributor for this team this coming season is Danny Green. Everybody else is a question mark. Even Rondo could be a good playmaker, but his ability to help a team win is definitely questionable over the last few seasons, at least until you get to the playoffs. His inability to shoot at times is definitely going to hurt their spacing at times. Then you've got, like I said, Quinn Cook, Avery Bradley, talked about them earlier in terms of my question marks about them. KCP, hit or miss off the bench. The fact that he is going to be significantly in their wing rotation is definitely a concern. Jared Dudley was a nice surprise as a rotational piece for the Nets last year, but again, not someone that I'd be excited about counting on. And then McGee and Howard. So everybody kind of knows this, but once you really look at it and once you really list it out, this Lakers rotation scares me. Like, if I was a Lakers fan, I'd be like, I'm really glad that we've got LeBron and Anthony Davis, because that's probably one of the few combinations in the entire league that could actually carry this team to some significant success this season. They're going to need guys like Kyle Kuzma, like Rajon Rondo, like Danny Green, and someone off the bench to be really good for them this season, because as great as LeBron and as great as AD are, this is a very tough Western Conference, and they're going to need contributions outside of those two guys. Rant about the Lakers depth chart now over. Moving on now to the expectations for this team, and I'm just going to say this part and then I'm going to move on to the predictions and explain myself. I've got them as a playoff team in the Western Conference. I think that should be an expectation, with the possibility to make the conference finals or the finals depending on matchups and or health of this team. Now to my prediction for the Lakers, I've got them at between 46 to 49 wins and obviously making the playoffs. And I'll be honest, I'm nervous about this prediction. This is a team that burned me last year. I said they were going to make the playoffs. I think I said they were going to be like the 3 seed in the playoffs in the West last year, and I got completely burned. So I am definitely nervous about this. However, as long as Anthony Davis and LeBron James stay healthy, I believe in that combination so heavily that I do think that they're going to be good enough to get, in my opinion, the 6th seed in the Western Conference. Now, before people crush me for not putting them higher in the standings, because I know that Lakers fans are very passionate, and a lot of you guys at times like to come at me in the comment section for not believing in this team more as a possible title contender, I encourage you to look at the Western Conference standings and tell me how you would put them any higher than 6th in the standings. Just look at it, evaluate it objectively, and look at how many good teams are in the West. Like, there are legitimately like 10 or 11 teams that are playoff caliber teams. Obviously not all of them will make it, but there are just so many teams top to bottom that are very, very good. And in my opinion, I've got the Lakers as the team that I believe in the 6th most, which is why, again, I think they're going to be the 6th seed. Now, having said that, if they stay healthy, if they get some good help from some of their rotation pieces, if somehow they find some kind of asset to be able to make a move mid-season, this is definitely a dangerous team. However, there are so many things that are required to go right for them to actually capitalize on how dangerous of a team they are, that I just don't feel comfortable placing them any higher than 6th in regular season Western Conference standings, and just placing them as a potential dark horse sleeper candidate, even though it's the Lakers, nobody's going to sleep on them, sleeper candidate, quote unquote, to potentially make the conference finals or the finals. That's just where I'm at with this Lakers team for this upcoming season. As you can tell, I'm relatively passionate about my stance on this team. But there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video. I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous season preview videos or any other videos that I made, then please be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.